This is Jacob's Algebra, Chapter 10, Lesson 2. The previous lesson was about factoring. This lesson is also about factoring, but this time we're going to be factoring with variables. So if you have a monomial of the form a times x to the n, then the factors of this monomial are going to be all of the factors of a and all of the factors of x to the n and all the possible combinations of the factors of a and the factors of x to the n. As an example, what if you have 4x to the third? We can list the factors of 4. The factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. The factors of x cubed are 1x, x squared, and x cubed. What are the factors of 4x cubed? Well, we have 1x, x squared, and x cubed. That's just taking our 1 from the first list and multiplying it by all the different possibilities from our second list. So the first list is factors of 4. The second list is factors of x cubed. Now we can take our second factor of 4 and multiply it by all the possible factors of x cubed. So then we have 2, 2x, 2x squared, 2x cubed. And then we can take our last factor of 4 and multiply it by all the possible factors of x cubed. And I need to go down to the next line. 4, 4x, 4x squared, and 4x cubed. So those are all the possible factors of 4x cubed. You can see there's actually a lot of them. The best way to be able to come up with a list of all the possible factors when you have something that has as many factors as this is to go ahead and write down all the factors of our number, our coefficient, and then all the factors of our variable, and then systematically multiply all of these together. So I used the first factor of 4 and multiplied it by all the different factors of x cubed. Then I did the second factor of 4 and multiplied that by all the factors of x cubed. And then the third factor of 4 and multiplied that by all the factors of x cubed. Since there are 3 factors of 4 and there are 4 factors of x cubed, altogether there should be 12 factors, and that's what we have. We have 4 here, we have 4 here, and we have 4 there. That is 12 factors. Okay, the next topic that's covered in this lesson is finding the greatest common factor. So as an example, let's find the greatest common factor. Remember, that's abbreviated GCF of 6xy and 15y to the fourth. Okay, what I would do for this is break each of these down into prime factors. 6 can be broken down into 2 times 3, and then we have times x times y. 15y to the fourth, well, the 15 can be broken down into 3 times 5, and then y to the fourth is y times y times y times y. So now we look for things that are in both lists. Well, you can see we have a 3 here in both lists. And we have a y here in both lists, and that's the only time we see any factor in both lists. So our greatest common factor for 6xy and 15y to the fourth is going to be 3y. Okay, so now let's get to work on some of the example problems. So we're going to start with number 4, which is the first problem in set 2, and this is just like number 10 that I assigned for homework. Number 4 says, write each of the following products or powers as a monomial. This is just doing multiplication, so you should not have any problems with this. As an example, 4a is 4 multiplied by 14x squared. When you are multiplying numbers with variables and powers, first you multiply your coefficients. So we have 4 times 14, that is 56. Then we multiply our variables. We have only an x squared here, so that is 56x squared. Next one we're going to look at is 4b. That is 7x times 8x. We're going to multiply our coefficients first. 7 times 8 is 56 again. And then we have x times x is x squared, so we get the same answer. Okay, the next one we're going to look at is part E. Part E is 6x to the fourth, and the whole thing is squared. Now remember, when you have things in parentheses that you're squaring, if you're multiplying all the things in the parentheses, we can break that out and say 6 squared times x to the 4th squared. Well, 6 squared is 36. X to the 4th squared, we multiply these exponents, is going to be x to the 8th. Let's jump down to part G, which has ax to the a multiplied by bx to the b. We're going to multiply our numbers by our numbers first, our coefficients. A times b is ab. And then we're multiplying variables that have exponents. So we write down our variable and we add our exponents. So x to the a plus b. Okay, part H is the last one we're going to do for number 4. And that is a times x to the a. And we're squaring it. That is the same as a squared times x to the a squared. When you raise a power to a power, it means that you multiply the exponents. So this is going to be a squared times x to the 2a. So that was number 4, which is just like number 10 in the homework. All you're doing is finding out the product of the products of the monomials, or what you get when you raise a monomial to a power. Okay, let's look at number 5. Remember, number 5 is going to be just like number 11 that I assigned for homework. It says, using only positive integer coefficients, factor each of the following monomials into as many different pairs of factors as you can. So here you want not just the factors, but all the pairs of factors. So let's start with part B. And for part B, our number is 34x. Well, first off, what are all the possible factors of 34? We have 1 times 34, and we have 2 times 17, and that's as far as we can go because 17 is a prime number. What about the factors of x? Well, that's just 1 times x. So what we need to do is start off with all the different powers of 34 and see what else we need to make 34x. So if we start with 1 times 34x will give us 34x. Okay, now we're going to choose the second factor, 2. 2 times 17x will give us 34x. Then we're going to go with 17. 17 times 2x will give us 34x. And then we'll do 34. 34 times x will give us 2x. Now, are there any other possible combinations that will give us 34x? Actually, no, this is all of them. So 1 times 34x, 2 times 17x, 17 times 2x, and 34 times x. Those are all the pairs of factors that we can use to make 34x. So now let's look at part D, which is 2x cubed. So when we break down 2, 2 is just 1 times 2. That's the only way to make it. X cubed, though, is 1 times x cubed, or x times x squared. So let's look at the different ways of making 2x cubed. We can start with 1 and multiply that by 2x cubed. We could start with 2 and multiply that by x cubed. Okay, so that takes care of just starting with the factors of 2. Now let's start with the factors of x cubed. Let's try 1. We already did 1, actually. Let's start with x. If we're starting with x, we would have to multiply that by 2x squared. We could also start with 2x, and that would be multiplied by x squared. So our next possibility is starting off with x squared. If we start off with x squared, we would multiply that by 2x. Well, we've already got that one. Actually, no, we don't have that. Yeah, we've got it right here. So we don't need to write that one down. We've already got it. And we could try starting off with 2x squared and multiply that by x. But again, we've already got that one here, so we don't need to write that again. And if we try starting with x cubed, we would multiply x cubed by 2, which is right here. Or we could start off with 2x cubed, which would be 1 times 2x cubed. So these 4 are the only possible different ways of writing 2x cubed. So there's only 4 pairs of factors that we can use to make 2x cubed. So this was number 5, which is just like number 11 that was assigned for homework. The next one we're going to look at is number 6. Number 6 says write each of the following monomials as the square of a monomial. So number 6 is going to be just like number 14 that I assigned for homework. So number 6, I'm sorry, it's going to be like number 12 that I assigned for homework. Sorry about that. Okay, so number 6, let's look at part C. Part C is 9x to the 10th. And we need to write this as a square of something. So it's going to be something squared. Well, what does the coefficient have to be? If the square of the coefficient is 9, then the coefficient must be 3 because that's the square root of 9. If the square of our variable is x to the 10th, then what's inside of the parentheses must be x to the 5th. So 3x to the 5th, and then squaring that whole quantity is going to be 9x to the 10th written as a square. Then part D, we have 25x squared y squared. Again, we need to write this as the square of a monomial. What coefficient would we have to square in order to get 25? That would have to be 5, because 5 squared is 25. What would we have to square to get x squared? Well, that would be x, because x squared is x squared. And to get the y squared, we would have to have y, because y squared is y squared. So that is how you would do number 6, which is just like number 12 that I assigned for homework. Okay, the next problem we're going to look at is number 7. Number 7 says, allowing only positive integers as coefficients, list all of the factors of each of the following. Okay, so this is going to be more like the example I worked at the very beginning. Let's look at 7 part B, and we need to list all the factors of 15x. Well, first we'll write all the factors of 15. All the factors of 15, we have 1 times 15, and we have 3 times 5, and that's it. All the factors of x, well, we can only make x as 1 times x. So now we need to do every combination of these in our list. So all the factors of 15x are going to be 1, 3, 5, 15, x, 3x, 5x, and 15x. Whoops, I forgot the 15. So what I did, you can see we have 4 different numbers listed here under 15, and we have 2 different numbers listed here under x. So what I did was I started off by taking 1, the factor 1 of x, and multiplying it by all the different factors of 15. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 15 is 15. That's these first 4 factors here. Then I took x and multiplied it by all the different factors of 15. And that's our x, 3x, 15, 5x, and 15x. So that gives us all of our possible factors of 15x. Because here it's asking for just the list, not the pairs. So the next one we're going to look at is part C, which is 49x. So if we break down 49, that can be written as 1 times 49. Or it can be written as 7 times 7. When we look at x, x can be written just as 1 times x. So we're going to take all the factors of 49 and all the factors of x. So the factors of 49x, we have 1, 7, and 49 because we would only list the 7 once. And then we have x, 7x, and 49x. So that is all the factors of 49 in all the possible combinations with all the factors of x. So that is 7c. Let's see if we have time to do 7 part E, which is 3x cubed. All the factors of 3 are 1 and 3. All the factors of x cubed are 1 times x cubed and x times x squared. So all of our possible factors would be 1x, x squared, x cubed, 3, 3x, 3x squared, and 3x cubed. And that's all of our possible factors. So that's number 7, which is just like number 13 that I assigned for homework. and I will cover the rest on the part 2 video.